Welcome back to Spirit Squared. I'm Andrew Darrington, your host. Josh, we're here with the 10th episode of our podcast. We're here at the historic Beckham Hotel in their cigar lounge again. Thank you so much to the owners of the Beckham Hotel. Really appreciate you letting us use this space. Tonight we have a great guest. She has done a lot for the community, a lot for me, good friend of mine. The better half of the Wright Way, in my opinion. She has been on barrel picks with me, but is really entangled in the community. We're going to talk about a lot of stuff tonight. Two big subjects that are kind of on a lot of people's minds right now. Since our last episode, we've had Thanksgiving, so happy holidays to everybody who's out there. Sorry, it's been a while since we've done our last podcast, but we're back. And we've got this one, and then we've got a really special one coming up. We'll talk about at the end of this podcast. So I want to introduce Yvonne Wright to the podcast. Thanks so much for coming in. We're sipping on. We got some pretty decent pours tonight.
They don't suck.
Yeah, exactly. We've got Weller Antique. This is a barrel pick, kind of Pappy Jr. if you would call it, or Old Rip Jr. I love these things. They're very tasty. If you like a wheated bourbon, if you like antique in general, you got to get a barrel pick. It's a level up, in my opinion. Thanks so much for coming in. It's kind of my gratitude to the guests to bring something that you like. It's not really what you listed, but I knew that you would like it. Yvonne, you're involved in Wright Way, obviously. You're one of the owners.
51%.
Yes, 51. You guys do a lot. You do solar, which we had Rudy on. He talked a lot about solar. You do property management. You also do repairs and things. So you see a lot. You interact a lot with clients. So you do that. We're going to talk a little bit about housing, what that looks like, what your projections are, trends and things like that, what the rental market looks like, because I think I know for me, having a kid that's in their 20s and struggling to try to figure out and navigate that terrain, it's been difficult to find affordable housing that matches like current pay rates. And then we're going to transition to something that's very serious in the community, and that piggybacks off of our last podcast, which includes human trafficking. But we're going to focus on the local impact. So let's first talk about Wright Way. I know Rudy kind of gave us some information, but from your point of view, let's talk about, because your point of view probably is going to matter quite a bit more, what the first couple days looked like, and then how did you guys get into the property management type of sector?
Well, my point of view is obviously a little different.
Yeah.
I wasn't born into it like he was.
Right.
I was married into it. So when Rudy and I got together, he was working at a company, and his mom sold it. So they went to work for the company, and they sold it too. And he was managing properties and just not happy. It was a corporate job. And if you know Rudy, he is not a corporate guy.
No.
So that didn't last very long, and we decided we wanted to do our own thing. And Rudy's always been an entrepreneur, so he quit that job, and he was doing a little bit of everything, but started the property management company then, and our backroom at the house. And we had one client. And then we were walking along, and we got a call from the people that his parents had sold the family business to, and they weren't happy, and we're going to close the doors of my bankruptcy, and we weren't about to have that.
Right.
So we took out a loan, bought it back, and that's where we started Wright Way. That was 99, I believe. And took on some more management clients, kept growing. As we were doing more management, there became need for services, and so that's where the maintenance can be developed. And as those jobs got bigger and bigger and bigger, that's where the construction company developed. And then the housing bust in 2008. Rudy had to get off the road, came home, and started building greenhouses. Mm-hmm. That's where the solar company developed.
Right.
But throughout all that time, we've always managed property. That's just where his background was. Mm-hmm. And so it just made sense for us to do that. And he doesn't really do much of the day-to-day anymore. We have a full staff, so I have several property managers and assistant managers and maintenance people that'll help take care of everything for us. And I just had to run the books and client relations, things like that.
Right.
And that's my day-to-day.
Right.
So yeah, we started with one client, one duplex community. I think it was 24 doors, something like that. And today we have over 500 units and about 100 property owners. And we work all over East Texas.
Right.
Tyler, Longview, and everything in between, north, south, east, west.
Right. So if I'm a property owner, I maybe live, in Arizona, and I want to have someone local check in on my client or my tenants, or maybe there's something that comes up from a repair standpoint.
Yeah, basically what we do is full service management.
Gotcha.
So you put me under contract, and then with any luck, you don't have to think about your rate house again. You just get a check in the mail, unless not in the mail anymore. It's all direct deposit these days. But you know what I mean. Yeah, we do everything. Market it, lease it, collect the rent every month. If you're late, we chase it down. We handle all the resident complaints.
Yeah.
We do pretty much everything. We'll just give you a call if something bad happens, air conditioner breaks, whatever you're roaming.
Right.
So we take care of everything for you. And most of our clients, well, I wouldn't say that. It's probably half and half that are local versus not. It doesn't really matter to us. It's one happening than the other.
Right. Do you think that music outside's coming through here or no?
No, not enough.
Okay, gotcha. You just want to make sure.
Yeah.
I'm hearing it pretty loud.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think they're just playing on the square. I mean, it's not a big deal to me. So housing right now, I'm sure you guys have invested properties.
Yeah, we have properties that we own.
And then you have some that obviously people turned over and said, "Hey, I want you to run it." It seems like the housing market has shifted quite a bit in the last couple of years, maybe under different administration. But I won't teeter into that. But
I think the housing market has been shifting for at least the last 4 years.
Yeah.
Some would say it started with COVID, but I think it started before COVID. We noticed it before COVID. It's just a tick up in the market, but COVID definitely ramped things in a completely wild direction, and things were very hot for a year, maybe two.
Right.
And they've definitely pulled off. I don't say that as a bad thing. That it needed to.
Yeah.
The last thing we want is another housing bubble and then have it bust.
Sure.
So we are seeing a slowdown in home sales.
Yeah.
We're seeing some of the prices start to come back down. So that's due to interest rates. Some of that's just due to, supply and demand that's on the market. But it has slowed, and I think it's not altogether a bad thing.
Right.
But when the housing sales slow, the rental market tends to pick up. Rents are definitely moving north. As property taxes are moving north, and insurance is moving very north.
Yeah.
Rates are going to go up. That's just the way it is. The homeowners, they hold that burden. The mortgage, the tax and the insurance, the repairs, everything else. It gets built into the rent, unfortunately, and so we are seeing rents go up.
Yeah, Colin was on it, was telling us about how rough, from Goosehead, was telling us how rough the insurance business is right now. There's just, unfortunately, a lot of us that are paying for a number of claims that have been made in the area. So in Texas, there's catastrophic events, and there's total losses that are occurring in certain hot pockets, but it's applicable to all of us. It's not just at home, but it's also cars.
Yeah, our motorcycle insurance this year, it doubled.
Yeah.
We've had these bikes since we were teenagers, literally.
Yeah.
And never had a claim, never had an accident, never had, any trouble.
Right.
Rudy Mayer and Alec Biden, some skiing to bits. But other than that, but yeah, and I called him and I said, "Why is this doubling?" And he said, "That's what it is."
Right. Well,
It's claims in your area.
So, that's one thing, and then the other thing is this: is like he was explaining, his wife backed into the garage, and the mirror fell off, and he thought it's maybe $100, $200, then it's a $700 claim. And so just the price of items going up impacts insurance. And so it's just kind of trickled down from there. So you see the market slowing some when it comes to single house dwellings that are for sale.
Yeah, I definitely see the sales market slowing down. We're already seeing it.
Right.
I don't think there's going to be a deep recession or anything along those lines. So we're definitely seeing it slow down.
Right, and it's maybe so it's somewhat the interest rates, people being shied away from that, but also are you seeing? And I don't know. I mean, you're not behind a desk like clearing loans, but are we seeing a restriction in that too, or?
No, I think it's one part of it is price.
Yeah.
We saw a significant and dramatic increase in value in our area because we saw a significant increase in population.
Right.
And a lot of the population that came here was able to make overvalue offers, full cash offers, quick close, those kinds of things that a lot of property sold at arguably over market value.
Artificial value.
So that inflated the market. So now home values are inflated. So your price is higher. Your interest rates are higher. People are going to necessarily pause. What's cost of living has increased and wages have not caught up yet.
No, close.
I mean, as somebody who employs people, I'm starting to see it. Jobs that I would have a starting salary of $10 to $12 an hour, and not anymore. Now it's going to be $15 to $18 an hour. And they want more benefits now too. So everything's getting more expensive, and I think it's going to take a while for the wages to catch up to the cost of living. And so that's why we're seeing, the slowdown in the housing market, but also in the rental market, we're seeing a shift in things of people are wanting to, kind of double up, get roommates or maybe have mom come live with us, multiple generations in one house so that they can save.
Right. Talk to us a little bit about how much you're seeing things cost monthly for what you get. So do I need to move out in the sticks in order to get more bang for my buck, or do I need to look for duplexes?
Yeah.
Do I need, what's my strategy? Obviously new apartment buildings are going to be expensive.
Yeah. Obviously anything newer is going to be expensive. You pay for amenities. You need lots of things like that. You're going to pay for them. The old rules still hold true. Good neighborhoods, the prices are higher. If you're in a favorable school district, the prices are higher. All the old rules still hold true. It's just kind of a sliding scale of, and it's more expensive and
right.
How bad do you want it?
Yeah, other than a college campus, I mean, I'm thinking maybe of our viewers that have the 20-year-old or 22-year-old that just got out of college or just got out of the military, and they're trying to set sail on their own or maybe with a significant other, and they're looking for their first place.
My recommendation for people in that situation is genuinely rent an apartment. Mm-hmm. It's not glamorous and it's not sexy and it's not what Instagram told you to do or whatever.
Right.
Rent an apartment. Let somebody else pay the taxes and repair bills and all that kind of stuff. And shop around. Negotiate your lease. And look at things like price versus amenities. You can live at this brand new property with all these extra amenities and pay $2,000 a month. Or you can live at this 20, 30-year-old property with maybe not so many amenities, but your rent's half.
Right.
So shop around and check reputations.
Yeah.
That's one thing I'm cautioning people more than anything. Before you rent from somebody, check their reputation. Check their Google reviews, check their Better Business Bureau, get on, Rates or Rates or whatever group you have in your hometown. Check these people out. Because the worst thing you want to do is save $100 a month to move into someplace that's got bed bugs.
Right.
Or a roof leak that nobody's going to come fix. Or, things like that.
Or an owner that's, rude or... Yeah, maybe your air conditioner goes out, they don't repair it.
It'll be 3 months.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. But definitely for younger people starting out in life, even if you're starting over again in life, save your money, rent. Let's let the market settle out a little bit and then start looking at buying, because as these things are sitting on the market longer, the prices are going to come down.
Sure.
I think we're also going to start seeing more homes come on the market that are repos, or foreclosures.
Do you think more REOs are on the market?
I think they're coming. Well, I don't think they're there yet, but I think they're coming. And there's a lot of people overbought,
Sure.
expecting the market to keep ticking up.
Right. And the banks have
And now it's plateaued and they're stuck.
That's interesting. So I apply to so many of those things. My wife and I bought our REO that had been repoed for over a year, and they were in between agents. We just happened to be in the area. We saw a bank sign on the grass, so we thought maybe they were just remodeling inside. I called the number. They let us in. I looked at it. They were in between agents. I immediately fired my agent. So sorry. Any of my friends that are real estate agents, so sorry. I fired my real estate agent to say.
Andrew has just lost all respect.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. And then I negotiated with the bank directly. And then on the second topic, we had someone that had sold their property that was looking to downsize and had cash during that uptick when things were appreciating at such a high value, but the inventory was so low. And that this individual just had cash available, and it was very attractive, and it gave us an opportunity to build and have a lot of liquid available without the tangles of going through a bank and all that kind of stuff. So there.
Yeah, always if you stumble on a good deal, take it.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, I think it's well, if you're investing, you're in a great spot. If you're having to rent, then I think you've got to really do your due diligence and looking at things. And even recently, I've looked at a couple different options of, look, I've got a lot of property in the edge. I've got 2 acres to mow and all this other stuff. What would life be if I was just to be able to rent a flat and just have everything taken care of for me? And that's a trade-off. It is. I think you trade off privacy. Is what it boils down
You
to.
trade off a lot of privacy. You trade off a lot of, I don't know, freedoms, I guess.
Well,
But that you have to weigh that out. What's right for you?
sure.
And I think if you're young and you're just starting out, figuring out what you want out of life, maybe a 30-year commitment to a mortgage at a permanent location is not the right decision.
Yeah, sure. What are your thoughts about RVs and mobile home? That seems to be in this area kind of a good segue into brick and mortar.
We're seeing a lot more of that. We're seeing a lot of, and not necessarily with the young crowd. It's more the older crowd we're seeing go to that. A lot of times you've got a divorced individual. Maybe the other spouse got the house and they don't want to make that kind of investment again. And this is something they can do and get a lot of freedom with an RV. You don't like your neighbors? Guess what? And just go up the road. You get new neighbors. And then a lot of retirees. We're seeing a lot of that. They want to come and it's here. Then well, now we're going to go over there, just tour around, do what we did. I have a lot of friends that own RV parks and are very pleased with their investments.
Surprised y'all.
We were this close. Listen, I was this close to building one. I have land that we're about to develop, and that was a strong candidate for development.
Are you making a major announcement right now?
I will announce what I'm not doing. How's that? No, we decided not to. The utilities of the infrastructure and stuff is very, very, very expensive.
Yeah.
And it really goes in that direction. So, I was close.
Yeah.
Because like I said, I tried a lot of friends that had RV parks and love it. They're cash cows. There's zero maintenance. Once you have the infrastructure, and well, not zero, but pretty low.
Yeah.
Super low overhead.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like storage units.
Right.
Super low maintenance, super low overhead. It's just mailbox money.
Right. Unless you have a pool or, kind of a washateria,
those things.
the washateria,
Yes,
and all that kind of stuff. Which, you know, makes sense to do that because you're going to maybe get a little bit more and rent it, and then you have to have Wi-Fi, and then
Then you have maintenance
you
and the staff.
that's right. Somewhat. You are the staff. Yeah. You're the staff that brings in the money, right? And the client association, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna go full bougie and say I'm
Yeah.
not doing that.
And Rudy's the staff that takes care of huskies. Like he's the
We
husky.
try.
Yes. Archer's got to be taken care of, right?
There's only so much you can do for Archer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he was. He can smell food.
I can
He's
see
pretty vocal when he smells it and he wants it, and it doesn't matter who it is. He's their friend.
He's an equal opportunity beggar.
That's right. All right, let's make another pour.
Yes.
We'll let the guests. We've already had the fiddler, the joker. We had that before we started, so we've got to give us something else. Yes. You want to have the rye?
Yeah, let's do the ride.
Okay, it's my turn to pour.
You'll love the ride. Thank you for this.
Yes. So this is this year's Heaven Hill Parker's 10-year rye. It's heavy char, and it is a lot better than their 8-year that they did 2 or 3 years ago, to my opinion. It's not heavily distributed to Texas yet. Cheers.
Cheers.
Yes. It's Parker's is one of those lines where you either really, really like them or you're just kind of, it's okay. I'm on the kind of fence that it's very, very good. Their rye is not my favorite. The regular heavy char bourbon is, but this is pretty fantastic in my opinion. And you're a rye fan.
I have a right fan, Eden. That.
Yeah.
Oh no, that's very good.
Yeah. I knew that'd be in Will's.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
Okay, so you've got a lot of years in the rental game, the rental experience, the 25.
Well, not that many because I'm not
Right, so 20. Or 15, maybe 10.
Maybe. We might as well single digit.
Yeah, exactly. You have to have some stories of some things. And I don't want to go down any morbid trails where we find somebody who's been, in a rough spot or anything like that. But there have to be some stories. And I have plenty of stories in what I do. But there has to be some maybe some funny stories. And
Stories for days.
heck, they're probably good stories from this week, but
This week, let's see, what am I into this week? I had to go rewire our breaker box because we found out that one of the houses we manage is tied into the utilities of a house that we don't manage that's on the opposite street. I guess that owner just decided he wanted to add a gazebo, so he just pulled powder from our meter. That was cool. That's fun. Let's see.
it doesn't have to be this week.
I've only been cussed out 3 times this week.
This week?
That's not so bad.
Well, that's
I mean, at least I was over. So that's not
Was one of it because you raised rates?
I did get cussed out for one renewal. Yeah, it was a $70 a month rate increase. In all fairness, we have spent a great deal of money converting around that property. That were called justified, but yeah, just watch it. One was a security deposit, and he felt like it should have gotten more to a refund. One with a lady we evicted 3 years ago. Yeah. Who has just now figured out this is on her credit and that she's trying to buy a house. Guess what she can't do while it's on her credit.
That's tough.
Yeah. She called me. I answered the phone. She's in tears, literally sobbing, hyperventilating tears. I finally get the story out of her, and I basically tell her once the phone is blood, she's stop her hands. She's already started 42. I have to call them, and I got cussed out a little bit. When she kind of figured out she wasn't even any bird me. You'd be amazed how quickly those tears dried out. And her voice went straight back to normal, and she just needed the phone number for the collection agent. Yeah, I don't get out in the field too much anymore. That's where the real fun stories are.
Right. Probably insects and some craziness there. Like
we walked into so many units where you open the door and the rugs literally fall down on you. That's super gross.
Like in our business, I mean, there's a couple of things that people bring in, we plug it in, and there's things that fall out. So I mean, and then you're kind of like amazed, like how the heck do people live in this type of scenario?
Oh, you'd be shocked.
And they're comfortable with it. They're good. Like these aren't people they're just choosing to live that way, and they just rather be that way than.
Yeah, you'd be shocked. Especially on move outs,
Right.
We've had people that have passed away that lived there for a very long time and were hoarders.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, whoa, shocking.
I've cleared out a hoarder house.
That's difficult.
Yeah.
That's physically and emotionally difficult.
Yeah, it is. You find some cool stuff in there, though.
I did a look.
Oh, really? Yeah, when I was in high school, that was one of we had to do like 8 hours or 12 hours of community service. And that was one of the things I did was we cleaned out, there was like probably 8 of us, and we just wore just whatever, gym stuff. And I got in there, and it was like a cat lady. And got in there and did some surfing of some stuff. And what you got in there was like, whatever, this is what it's going to be. Yeah. And but we found there's stuff from like the 60s in there, But it is sad. I mean, that they were living in that environment. Especially when it's your rental.
Oh, of course. We evicted a cat lady in Gladewater a month or 2 ago. She was rescuing feral cats throughout the city of Gladewater. And she had those little square cages stacked up in rows on every wall of the house. I couldn't count how many cats were in there. The smell.
So, that it was intense.
And it was just living there. She was just living there like a full.
Right.
No.
What's the like the I'm sure I know I have like a couple people that I've talked to that I'm just like, you're on a different planet. I think you're living in a different planet.
Yeah, that goes a lot.
Where are you getting your logic from? Do you have anybody that moves out and goes, hey, I need my security deposit back, and you're like, did you see how you left?
On a regular basis.
Okay.
When people move out, depending on the size of the house, I take in excess of 500 pictures.
Right.
The person that walks in.
Yeah.
And I put them on the server.
Which was formerly you.
Yeah.
Some years
not
ago.
anymore.
A few years ago.
Yeah.
Now you train those people. Kind of.
Some of them, yeah. But yeah, they'll complain, why did I get my deposit back? And I'll just send them the pictures. This is why.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no need to have a conversation.
Right.
Yeah. And I usually know ever.
Right.
But it's fun. But even taking over properties, we took over to Property Community in Tyler one time, and they told us there was this one building that didn't have any renters in it. And, there was some issue in one of the units, and we thought, okay, whatever really happens. We opened the door to this unit, and when you swung the door, mold spores just flew through the air.
Oh, dear.
The carpeting had become a bed of mushrooms. Mold crawling up all of the walls. Every surface in this apartment was growing something. And nobody could figure out why. Where does it come from? What's the cause of this problem? And Brady got the joy of taking care of that one. And when cover slabs, all that kind of stuff, cleaned out the unit, and what they found, there was a bed stack on the roof to the upstairs unit, and somebody had shoved a rag in the bed stack, which clogged the plumbing to the downstairs unit, and so there was just a plumbing leak for like 8 years.
Wow.
8 years.
I thought you were going to tell me like they had an aquarium in a corner or something.
No, we didn't find anything living other than fungus.
Right. So in my briefing, you mentioned squatters.
Lots of squatters.
Okay, so I want to know about that.
The leasing agent job is probably the most dangerous job in our company. If you're going out to these houses that are vacant,
Sure.
sight unseen, unlock the doors, just walk in, and it frequently happens that we'll walk in and find somebody. It happened to my daughter. My middle daughter's a leasing agent for us now.
That's my right. I've been here for 3 days.
She went to show a unit in Bullard
Right.
and walked in and could tell that people had been there. And by the time she got to the back, they had scuttled out a window or something, called the sheriff. Come to find out, it was 3 white runways that they had been looking for out in Boulder.
They found
Just
it.
squatting in the house.
Wow. I think that happens a lot more than we think. I think it does.
Yep. Yep. I've got, we just took over a portfolio in Longview. We've got a lady living in a unit that she's got no lease, no documentation whatsoever that says she has any right to be in that unit, refuses to pay rent, and refuses to leave.
What do you do?
You file eviction.
And
You file eviction and you pray that the judge has mercy on you because you have no lease, and
right.
God knows what kind of story they're going to come in and bring.
And they have no deed. They have nothing.
Yeah. But what they do have is evidence that they've been
They've been
living
there,
there
yeah.
for a long time.
Yeah.
And if you can establish residency, it's a lot different fight.
Golly.
Yep. Yeah, I've walked into giant bongs on the coffee table.
So,
Nobody thought you should maybe put that up when you called the manager over. What's on a property manager having sex with the maintenance man on the desk one time. That was awkward. That was super awkward.
Your employee or the? Yeah. Yeah. And you're both employees, right? Yeah. They're both the employees? Yeah. Well, once we get off camera,
Nobody likes it when that.
Not that good.
But we've got a lot of good stories too.
Yeah.
I've got a lot of printers that have been with us for years and years and years. Those are wonderful people, and you get to know them. And my staff too. Like Christy, my property manager, she's been with me 23 years now.
Wow.
Kenneth, our broker, he's been with us 18, I think.
Wow.
My maintenance supervisor, she started as a prep girl on the painting crew when she was a teenager, and grew up and started painting, and then got into maintenance, and then we brought her in the office, and now she runs the maintenance team. She's been with me 20-ish years now.
Yeah, we have customers that bring us like peanuts or pecans, when it's that time of year. And then we even had this week, tomorrow, day after tomorrow, so Saturday night, we have our Christmas party locally at the same place we have our Burgess Society meeting, so like John's place.
Yeah.
And we had a customer, we were posting signs, like, hey, we're closing an hour early. And the customer was like, oh, you got here. Brought like a case of Heineken. And like, you got those great customers too. That see the bigger picture, and then you have some that just kind of it's transactional relationship.
Yeah.
Which is okay. All right, so another beverage of the Parkers, right? Because we have to transition into something a little more serious. A lot more serious. Yeah. Especially when it comes to the local kind of landscape. And we're going to piggyback off of last podcast. We talked about human trafficking. You're the president of the Local for the Silent group that is a huge advocate for the area for girls and boys that are human trafficked. They have you guys have a big presence in the area. There's a lot of work that has to be done. Talk to me a little bit about how you started that, where you're at now. So you started quite a few years ago, right?
The organization itself started, Ken and Julie Rixby were the founders. They had a very similar story to me. And oddly enough, around the same time. Okay. Rudy and I went on a mission trip to Cambodia. And that was the first time I didn't know that was a thing. And I was horrified. I mean, absolutely horrified. At the time, I do have 3 daughters, but at the time they were very young. And the thought of somebody my daughter's age being forced into that world just turned my stomach. And it changed me as a person. And I came back home and I thought, wow, I gotta do something. Oddly enough, Jenny and Julie kind of had the same experience. They'd gone overseas, seen this, came home, and they started this organization for the side with the original intent of working overseas. But when they got home, what they learned very quickly was this is not an overseas problem. It's not even a big city problem. In fact, it's significantly a problem in Tyler, Texas. Tyler is a hub for minor sex trafficking. It's a hub for sex trafficking anyway, but specifically minor sex trafficking. So they changed focus and started working locally. I was going to church at the time. We were going to the same church. And one Sunday, he gave a presentation on what they were doing, who they were helping, and I thought, wait a minute, what? I'm sorry. This happens in my town, in my backyard. And so I started learning more about it and getting more involved, and I went to their community training that they offer. And it was at that time a 2-day course, half day Saturday, half day Sunday. And that course really shook me. It was disgusting as it was startling. The information that I learned. For example, the average age a girl is going to start to be trafficked is 8 years old. Men, 8 years old.
Right.
I don't remember the statistic right now on, how many kids are sex trafficked every day, but it's something ridiculous, have over 100,000 every day, and those are the ones that admit it. That's one thing we've learned in this organization is they very infrequently somebody confides of it.
Sure.
And then also just learning about the industry itself, the pimps and how they work and how they attract these girls, and broke my heart. And then learning about the worst part, I think, close. Learning about the jobs, who the customers are. If there was no customer, the market would not exist.
Sure.
And unfortunately, the customers are middle-aged, Christian, white men. So like basically everybody I know.
Right.
And it shook me, it startled me, and I just could not go back to day-to-day life. And so that's when I started really getting involved and volunteering when I could, always contributing when I could, helping them fundraise and things like that. And when the call came to their board position, I was so honored to accept. I've been on the board for, I think, 2 years now. And then just this year, I'm going to be the sitting president. And I'm really honored and excited to help in whatever way I can, with whatever work I can do, because it's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
It just is.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't happen. It should not exist. When you, especially for somebody in my position who's been so overwhelmingly blessed. I have a great husband. I have a great job. I have a house, car, all these things. The penultimate thing I have is my 3 beautiful daughters.
Mm-hmm.
And the thought of something like that occurring in their lives destroys me. But also, they were so young when I was first learning about this, and I would look at their friends. Mm-hmm. And I'd find myself thinking, which one? Mm-hmm. Which one's vulnerable? Which one is the girl I'm learning about? It's not girls that are, problem kids or whatever. They didn't go out and seek this and choose this, and there's no game manipulation you're trying to do. Ultimately, these girls are, by and large, girls that have been from homes where there was a lot of abuse, a lot of neglect, and so they're left with no love in their lives, nobody to care for them, tell them they're special. and somebody comes along and does.
Mm-hmm.
That's really all it takes.
Right. What are the avenues that you see are the most vulnerable avenues that where these folks are like tapping into this need or want that they have these kids?
Everything's happening online these days.
Right.
When we started, it was a totally different shift. You would see you'd see the pimps driving by the schools or the playgrounds or where they're hanging out, and hey, you look cute today, that kind of stuff. That's not how it happens anymore. It's all everything is online, and that's why parents should be cautious about what devices they're getting their children and how they're accessing networks and even all these little apps. Any kind of social app is a red flag. Any game that has a chat feature,
Right.
all of these are red
Yeah,
flags.
especially Snapchat where it dissolves.
Snapchat, TikTok,
That's the rough. Well,
all
yeah.
of them. Really.
Yeah, well, X now is pretty rough.
All of them. Anything
so-
that has a private messaging feature, you're vulnerable.
Yeah, we'll come back to the folks that get victimized, but how do you have experience? So, and I'm sure you've talked to a number of Johns and a number of pimps. How are those people developed? Like,
I haven't actually really talked
Okay.
to a lot of them. I don't know. I don't know. A lot of the Johns, a lot of them that you see, it's the sad, lonely guy that you mentally image. But a lot of them, it's not. It's the creepy perv, and that's what they're into.
yeah,
The pimps, that's a whole different dichotomy. It's a business. It's straight up a business, just like any other illicit business, whether it's selling drugs or electronics or guns or whatever you're into. They're made a product. That's all it is to them.
Sure.
There's no emotional content really for them. It's an easy product to move, and when that product wears out, they'll do that one.
sure, yeah. There's got to be some type of genetic piece of those individuals, or there's hereditary means of some kind that where it's passed on generationally, or
it's a genetic thing.
because I've never known like
cultural
my
thing.
dad did this and then I do this for a living. It more than anything, they find a vacuum, and so they just walk into the vacuum. Hey, look, nobody's doing this in this area or on this corner or this whatever, and then I find susceptible females and unfortunately males now even are in the phrase.
Yeah, I get the pimps. They're just opportunists.
Yeah.
They're looking to make a payday. And unfortunately, Tyler's a really nice place for them to do that.
Yeah. So when we were talking in the previous podcast, I mean, like the first contact is really difficult when you make first contact with someone with someone who is being human trafficked.
Oh.
Because they're so conditioned to
Yes.
the life that they're living. They get told how special they are and what I've done for you lately and things like that. You've been part of boots on the ground.
I don't really get hands on the ground to victims.
Okay.
That is not my role at all.
Okay.
My role is administrative.
It's administrative. Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just more on the business side of things. I love to support those boots on the ground
Got it.
people because they have personal traits and characteristics that
Yeah.
I was not born with.
Right.
And they're so good at what they do because it takes a special kind of person. You have to build a relationship of trust.
Right. So you're talking more on your side of things of developing those people.
Yes.
So setting up structures, setting up training. So how do you, I'm not saying you directly, but how do you train someone to counteract that type of influence?
There is a lot of training that they go through. You know, there's trainings that we send them to, seminars and things like that. A lot of it is you cannot train. You know, you can't train somebody how to care for another human being.
Or street sense. Because
Right.
at first, like
You
the first
need to learn
contact,
a lot of that.
what our previous guest was talking about was like, it could be just bringing condoms or, gauze or things to clean with or whatever. Yeah. I mean, it's to think about that as your initial contact to try to gain some trust or some.
Well, and unfortunately, where
hard to wrap your head
organization
around it. It's
is
hard.
meeting these girls a lot of times, they're already in the judicial system.
Right.
That's where we're meeting a lot of these girls.
Sure.
So we do have prevention programs where we go into like schools and the juvenile detention centers and things like that, and try to do education and awareness and mentorship and things like that. None of those kids are ever going to identify as victims. I've heard stories where they're working with girls and the girls will say, "Oh, well, yeah, that happened to me, but that's not so bad. Let me tell you what my dad did."
Yeah.
So they don't identify as being trafficking victims. They might identify as being, abused or neglected or something like that, but they see that as far worse than whatever trafficking. Like, "Oh, that's just a thing I did," So there's a lot of, I don't want to say re-education because that doesn't sound right. But you do have to sort of meet them emotionally and keep showing them over and over and over and over again what an actual positive relationship is, what love really looks like, what friendship really looks like, and what betrayal really looks like. Because they don't know. Nobody's ever showed them that.
Yeah, and it's when you come from a broken family and you retreat and you find something that sounds great, and then they're doing certain things but providing enough that maybe a lot of cases better.
In a lot of cases, though, like that's what we'll hear. Yes, I know I'm got a roof over my head. I know I have a warm bed to sleep in at night.
Right.
I know I'm gonna have food. I'm getting my nails done. I'm getting my hair done.
Right.
I'm getting new clothes.
Maybe
my cute little purse.
Maybe the drugs that I wanted.
The drugs are free as much as I want.
Yeah.
I don't have to go to school. I don't have to get a job. I have to do this thing.
Right. And we're not talking about Las Vegas here. We're not talking about San Diego. We're not talking about LA. We're talking about Tyler and the surrounding area.
That's correct. So we call it the Four Corners.
Oh, wow. We call it something.
We do. We call it the Four Corners, Lake 323 and North Highway 69.
Okay.
There's a whole bunch of hotels and motels on that little block. And that's what we call the Four Corners. You ask anybody in law enforcement, everybody knows what the Four Corners are. So the pimps will come into town. They'll rent out a block of rooms. They'll post an ad online, dark websites as well as regular websites. And they will literally line them up, schedule out their entire day.
Wow. So, I mean, obviously I don't want to go into too much detail about, like, no one ever phrases. There are a variety of websites and Facebook pages that are dedicated to notify the public of transgressions that people make. And there's very few infractions that involve human trafficking. There just is. Or that's just the facts. So are a lot of those arrests not publicized?
It's very, very difficult to prosecute human trafficking.
Okay.
That's a very
but I mean,
definition.
if I'm involved in
Prostitution is not human trafficking.
okay,
So
but
that's
it's still legal.
correct. And you'll see people arrested for solicitation.
Very few.
Prostitution.
Very few.
It's not a big thing. You see way more DWIs.
Right. Sure. Or assault or whatever.
Yeah, all that kind of
Or
stuff.
public intoxication. But you don't see many of them,
You don't.
which makes me feel like it's happening a lot, and maybe some of these arrests are not being public, or they just don't have enough. Are we trying to get a lot of intel here, or are we just trying to go, hey, look, we know it's happening. We need to re-educate the victim here and try to get them out of the situation.
Well, so that's a lot of the work that For the Silent does and has done in the past. Is it started with law enforcement, re-educating law enforcement that this is a victim and not a criminal.
Right.
If you are under the age of 18, the state of Texas has determined that you are not old enough to consent.
Right.
So you are a victim regardless of the circumstances.
Sure.
So there's a lot of re-education there. You don't take them to jail.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
let's get them some care, get them in a home. If
Yeah.
they can't figure out where they're from, there's places we can take them. So that was a huge re-education. Tyler PD, Smith County Sheriff, there's a couple of task force around this area that have been wonderful to work with. But human trafficking in and of itself is a very difficult crime to prosecute. And one of the things that you absolutely have to prosecute it is a victim that will stand on trial.
Yeah, sure.
And that's a huge ask.
Sure.
That is a huge ask.
Yeah.
But that's another thing that the organization does. We, from the time they get pulled out of that environment, we are with them the entire way. We're with them in the interview room with the police. We're with them when they go to the hospital for their exam. We're with them when they go to court for all of the hearings, all of the pre-trial stuff, all of the lawyer stuff. Even when they have to go deal with family services, they're under 18, so
Right.
you got to deal with that part too. So we're with them.
And I'm sure many of them have children of their own, right?
Occasionally.
Yeah.
Yep. So we try to be with them through that whole process, hold their hand through that whole process. About 4 or 5 years ago, there was a huge case here in Smith County, made national news because they busted a ring, a trafficking ring that was a multi-state ring, very sophisticated criminal enterprise.
Yeah.
And it started right here in Tyler, Texas. They busted this ring right here, and it was several girls, but one of our girls she had the fortitude to see it through. And it went all the way through, went to trial, stood on the stand, relived all of those experiences again, and they convicted him. It's a long process. It's a difficult process.
Right.
I do wish that there was more, enforcement, I guess, on the John and the Pence side.
Yeah.
We were like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it seems like pulling the victim out of this situation would be most effective.
It is, but it's also, it's not that simple.
No, right.
You kind of
It takes more work, for sure.
Well, and we call it the rule of sevens, because on average, 7 times they're going to go back.
Yeah. Yeah. I can imagine.
Yeah. So it's not a,
I mean,
it's not a Hallmark movie.
I mean,
you
heck,
know?
there's people that have bad marriages that to be bad.
Well, yeah.
And there's no,
Well, people go back to abusive marriages.
there's
They
no
go
assault,
back to
there's
abusive
not,
parents,
yeah.
They go back to abusive jobs. I mean, it's
Yeah.
that, what are you willing to do?
Yeah, I mean, as a species, we try to see the best in things for the most part, and
It's
so
what they're comfortable with. It's what they know.
yeah. And if it's a better situation than they were in,
And that's the thing. If you come from a lifestyle of total uncertainty and no support, but with this choice, you have that. You have
Right.
that knowledge and that certainty. And
yeah. So
It's very nice.
you're the president of For the Silent. So the president does a lot of administration. They allocate funds to different entities, I'm assuming, maybe different responsibilities.
a lot of that really falls on our executive director.
Okay.
So that's Becky.
Okay, that's what I was getting to. I was like, well, wait a minute.
With us tonight.
She was supposed to be with us
Yes.
tonight. So
Unfortunately,
so you're the president of the board, but she's the executive director. So talk to me a little bit about. Well, wait a minute. I'm gonna make one last point, okay, before we get started, because then we got to go to another round. But last pour, she asked for Heaven Hill. I kind of went up a notch, and I'm bringing Heaven Hill 17. This is a great bottle. It was released by Heaven Hill last year. This year they did a 20, which I don't think is as good personally, this is Heaven Hill is one of my favorite too, by the way. So when you said Heaven Hill, I was
You can't go wrong.
we kind of had to one up Rudy. His deal.
I'm still a little jealous about his Black Widow.
Refixed.
I know. But there's none left for me.
Well, there is some left, but some of it's steel. But anyway, yeah.
Yeah, that's one I wish I had gotten more on, so I can propel the one
I
back.
know that one.
But you know, there's no unopened bottles in my house.
Yeah, well, I've got a few, just more nostalgic type stuff. You know, especially like the honey stuff, and just have some. But I probably need to crack it all and just get it done with. You know, it'd be over with. But anyway, okay. So to Becky, sorry you couldn't make
We're
it.
so sorry you're not here.
Yes, to Teddy Stebbins 17, or is she? She's not a whiskey drinker.
She's
is she?
not a whiskey.
Okay. Well, so we're sorry, Becky. You're missing
Well, I
out.
can have her.
Two times. No. Make sure you pour her spot.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you're the president. She's the executive director.
Yes.
And is she based out of Tyler too?
Yeah, Becky's
Okay.
here in Tyler. Becky's got a long history working, his industry adjacent. We solar from the Advocacy Center, Cherokee County, I believe. She's been with us about a year now,
Okay.
and she's been just a breath of fresh air. She's been so wonderful. She is passionate about what we're doing. She is very intelligent, engaging. She's helping us build stronger relationships with the law enforcement community, also with, just the other providers, care providers that we are. And she's helping us grow our programs. Our fundraiser this year was bigger and better.
Yeah, you have a gala, right?
Yeah, we have every year. It's usually the first weekend in November.
Right.
We have a full-on formal black tie, a gala here. We did it at the Berkshire Center in Tyler this
Yeah,
year.
nice.
Another brand new facility. It's beautiful.
Yep.
I'm not sure that the final numbers are in, but I think we raised about $350,000.
Wow.
So that was
Holy
incredible.
moly.
Incredible. The best we've ever done.
Yeah.
So we're super pleased with that. We've got a lot of plans for that. We brought on, for the first time, a full-time counselor on staff now.
Okay.
So it's very exciting.
Yeah.
We actually got a grant from Trinity Mother Francis that
Oh, wow.
helped us pay her salary for this year.
Wow.
So it's wonderful.
That's awesome.
It's great for the clients that we serve, but it's also great for our staff. This is very difficult work.
Oh, I can imagine.
It's
I mean,
very difficult. It's super high burnout.
The counseling's not just for the victims, but it's got to be for the
Yeah.
folks that are on the front line too.
Yeah, and
Yep. I could see that 100%. Obviously, when we post this, Josh, right? I mean, we're gonna put some links down to where people can either get involved, because I would imagine we don't have like a brick and mortar or storefront. Like, hey,
yeah,
check in here. It's not that kind of organization. It's probably, hey, if you're interested, we'll reach out to us. We definitely want you to understand what it entails and what motivates you to do what you're doing. But reach out to us online, reach out to us.
that's really the best thing. The website, get on the website. There's so much really good information about who we are, what trafficking is, what we're doing locally, all of these specific things, how you can get involved, how you can plug in. Money, obviously.
Sure.
We are a nonprofit.
Yeah.
We do need money. There's a lot of ways you can go about that. We're happy for a one-time donation. The ones that mean the most to us are the monthly donators.
Yeah.
It could be $10, $20 a month, but just that consistency, those are the ones we really, really depend on. There's some volunteer opportunities. Just due to the nature of the work we do, there's not a whole lot of hands-on volunteer opportunities because you're required to have a certain amount of training to do that.
Right.
But providing meals for our groups that we host, or helping us provide things like a change of clothes. We provide snack bags, toiletry bags, things like that. Helping us get those materials, putting them all together. Those are volunteer things that can be done. And then sitting on a committee. That's a really big thing that helps us out a lot because it's time consuming. And a lot of people they don't have the time. So
Right.
that's a big need.
And it's a donation of time.
It is. It's a huge
That means
donation of time.
compensated for
This
it.
gala that we just did, I sat on a committee for the gala. The person that hosted the gala probably had it easily 20 hours a week for 3 months leading up to this gala, volunteer time.
Right.
And then those of us on the committees, several hours each week for 3 months leading up to this gala. So it is a commitment, but those volunteer hours are a huge deal to us. That's a staff member we don't have to pay for.
Right.
And anything we don't have to spend administratively, we can spend on the work we're actually trying to do.
Efforts, assets,
Yeah.
that type of thing. Yeah. All right. We're going to take a sip of this. And then the final part.
All right.
Well, your final part.
My
Yeah. Then I kind of got to lead into the next one. This one's going to just kind of hit it a little different, in my opinion.
It's a very different than anything we've had tonight. And that is ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. What got you into bourbon? Damn, is that funny?
Empty nesting?
Okay, that made me laugh too.
Okay.
I think it was like towards the end of the nest for me.
Well, it was kind of the end of the nest.
Okay,
yeah.
so same thing.
We had children very, very young.
Yep.
Rudy and I have been together. Oh God, let's see. I met Rudy in middle school.
Don't age yourself.
I'm not there getting no numbers.
Okay.
I met him in middle school.
Yeah.
Started dating in high school. We actually got married in high school on our spring break, so that we could have a honeymoon.
Yeah, there you go.
Had our first child right after we graduated. And so we just immediately went into parenting,
Sure.
building businesses, all those kinds of things.
Yeah.
And so we ended up having 3, so probably about 25 years we spent raising kids, doing all the things. It's starting to get awkward to tell. I always tell everybody I'm 29 and holding,
Right.
but my oldest child is now 27.
Yeah, it's not really. Yeah.
It's starting to get.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyways,
Now you're 39 and old, maybe.
ugh. It's still like 20.
Yeah.
That's a year.
It's just a number.
It is. It is. It's a number I don't actually care about.
Yeah.
But yeah, the kids were growing up, moving on, and all of my children were high functioning children.
Mm-hmm.
So my oldest was an equestrian, and that's a 5-day-a-week gig.
Yeah.
Horse shows are never in Tyler, and they're 3-day events. The middle one was a nationally competitive gymnast, and it's also a 5-day-a-week gig. We homeschooled that one to facilitate the training.
Yeah.
Competition for also never in Tyler. We traveled all over the country for that one. The youngest one, bless her heart, was much easier on me, but she was competitive soccer. So, maybe 2-3 days a week, and you have competitions in Tyler, but then you're in Dallas every other weekend for a tournament.
Dallas, Shreveport.
Right.
Texarkana.
So for all of those years, we ran. We didn't have hobbies. Then they got older. They started driving. They started moving out, and I'm looking around like, what am I going to do with all this weird free time I have? I'm not gardening. I don't do that. I don't cook. I don't sew. I don't knit. I still feel too young for like bridge club. So looking around, I'm like,
And you're not a heavy shopper.
I'm not a big shopper.
Like clothes or
Like,
knit hats and stuff like that.
I'm not into a lot of the like socially Tyler kind of things. I don't really do a lot of that, and so I got into cocktails.
Yeah.
That's what started it.
Yeah.
I got really into cocktails and
That's cool. Yeah.
mixing drinks and figuring out what I liked and what I didn't, and
Yeah.
what went together, what didn't, and just had a lot of fun with it. And what I learned through that was I really like bourbon,
All right.
which I had always thought I did not.
Yeah.
I grew up, and my dad drank. Oh my God, my brother's gonna kill me because I can't remember what it's called.
My dad drinks scotch.
No, it was bottom shelf bourbon in a plastic bottle with a twist-off lid.
Now that could have been a number.
Was probably like $5.99
Yeah.
for a jug with an
Early
nail on the
times.
side,
Early times, not the B&B, just the early times.
Yeah.
1098. Keep it below the
The
sink.
cheapest cheap. And so that was my introduction to whiskey, and I thought, oh, no, thank you.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. But through mixing cocktails, I was getting into higher end whiskeys and bourbons,
Yeah.
and I thought,
Or flavor.
well, let me just have it without all that mixing stuff in it. And
Right.
then I found Bourbon Society, and that led to Whiskey Club,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
all these cool people that I've met, and all these things that I've learned. And
Yeah,
it's been fun.
it's a good camaraderie.
It
I
is.
think we're very sheltered and blessed in a lot of ways because you see a lot of other groups and there's a lot of can be internal turmoil and just like infighting and just kind of
What I like about it, the East Texas vibe, because I'm in a lot of other groups online and whatnot, and
sure.
a lot of them are very bro-centric.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, it's fine.
Jen and I talked about this.
Yeah.
You know how open and accepting the East Texas groups,
Yes.
multiple groups,
Yes.
are for. And we talked at length.
Not just accepting, welcoming,
Yes.
respecting.
And we talked at length about my viewpoint. You know this. You've done a number of the barrels that I try to get. I tell multiple people that are decision makers, like I need a female palate at the table. Period. It's just the way it's going to be, and it doesn't happen all the time, but it did during certain segments or certain barrels. Like, hey, this is the way it's going to be, and I'm not going to go into detail because I'll prefer not to say, but but you can guess which ones were like, this is going to be what I would want to do, and I think it was a very fruitful decision because there are certain attributes, and so Shannon went into those on her podcast with me about some of the genetic characteristics that females have versus males, and some of the history that goes back to that. So I have a deep respect for female palates, and I think that, and I'll leave with this final point with that, is that I found that females typically don't have a political or social agenda when they're giving feedback on what they're tasting. There's not a fear there that they're going to be judged differently in the future
Right.
for future opportunities. And whereas
So what you're saying is we have no filter.
in kind of a nice way, yes, but in a lot of ways,
But you're not wrong.
I know that I'm getting facts, and even if I disagree with it, I still respect it because it's coming from a genuine place, and then I have the only thing I have to do is someone else who's also experiencing the same effects or experiences go, do I agree or not? And that's it. It's very simple. Whereas I've found that in some segments that the feedback was filtered because of fear that things would change. And I never felt that way with majority.
One thing that I hear from guys that I never, ever, ever, ever hear from my female friends.
Yeah.
They'll say things to me like, well, yeah, my palate's not as developed as yours, or I don't know all the things like you do. And I'm over here going, first of all, I don't know squat. Okay?
Right.
I'm going to put it in my mouth,
Yeah.
and I'm going to like it, or I'm going to not.
Yeah.
And that's my metric.
Right. And then wait a minute, and then taste it again, and then see if it changes.
Sure.
Because we both know that oxygen changes things, and so.
Or I'll come back to it in a week.
Yeah.
Especially some of the
Oh, yeah.
higher
Absolutely.
proof ones, you
Yeah.
come back to it in a
Absolutely.
week. Sure.
Yeah.
But I don't, speaking for myself, I don't speak for all the other ladies. I just, when it comes to the judgment side of it, I don't give a shit.
Yeah, I think. Well, first off, yes, you're right. You don't. You have a stronger personality than this. You do. But at the same token, I think that there's an environment there that's already preconditioned.
Yeah.
by people like Daniel and Matt
Correct.
and
I will
Michael,
mitigate
going
what I
at,
just said
you know,
with-
all that kind of stuff. Where if
In
you went into the
Texas.
realm of Dallas,
Correct.
that it would maybe be a little different, and you may be a little more reserved on getting feedback. It's an environment where it's like, hey, we want to know the best of the best, and if you feel like you have some reservation, we'll hear them.
Yeah, never has any of the East Texas clubs made me feel like if I share my opinion,
Yeah,
the reaction to that is going to be, oh, she's just a girl.
yeah,
That's never, ever been my experience
No, I
in
agree.
East Texas. And I sincerely appreciate that and enjoy that so much
Yeah.
because it is the experience.
sure.
In a lot of other whiskey arenas, not only is your opinion not respected, but there's the distinct impression that you're only here to be objectified.
Right. Or let's see what she picks, and we'll know that's not where we need to go. I'm sure. We didn't let Rudy be a part of some picks, even though he likes old granddad. I mean,
You know what
That's pretty
Rudy's
rough.
favorite whiskey is, right?
it's not old granddad.
It's the one he just had.
Oh,
Obviously.
oh boy. Yeah, that's a good one.
We-
All right. So, shout outs. We kind of already. Becky.
We did. We
shout out to Becky.
I know.
You
I'm
kind
so
of
sad
you reference a couple of people that's in your office. So you've got
she's here.
yeah, you have your manager, your
Christy Jarvis. She's been with me for so long. Nikki, Summer, and Kenneth, also in the office. Been with me so long.
Yeah.
All three of my girls are working for me now.
That's right.
which is
Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah,
I
it
love
is.
it.
It's
I
they're like
genuinely-
this. I bring something in. They're like this that way. I'm like I already know. Yeah.
They know. They know.
So,
They call you guys my whiskey guys.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll get a message. Your whiskey guy is here.
yeah, exactly.
But yeah, Angie's on our front desk.
Yeah.
She is positively incredible.
Yeah.
I love her to pieces. Angela, got two Angelas.
Yeah.
I had to call one Angie. She runs our solar department. She's pretty awesome.
Yeah,
We've got
it's great. I mean, you can feel family in it.
Yeah.
When you walk in,
For
it's family, which
And
is a big
something I
thing.
say-
Like that takes a long time to do. And kudos to you guys for doing that.
It's a commitment.
Yeah.
It's a commitment.
Even though you put mailboxes in the middle of your parking lot.
And then I reinforced them with concrete rebar.
That's right.
Yeah. How's that work out for you?
It's $3,500 worth of damage. I backed into it. So there you go. And then I went to an Urban
Yes.
Society meeting
After a
that.
whiskey tasting,
Yeah,
which turned into a double tasting.
correct. At an insurance agency downtown where we weren't supposed to be meeting with large groups, and it was in a large group.
It was smack in the middle of COVID.
Yeah. And we had to move desks around and chairs around. That was fun times. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it was.
But thanks
So
Oh.
for doing that.
Yeah, man. Good times. Thanks so much for coming on.
Well, thank you
Really?
so much for having
Yeah,
me.
it was fun. It was fun. A lot of people that sit in that chair, they worry about like, I'm gonna say the wrong thing or is the content. No, it's always good content. It's about you, really, and that's what's kind of odd about this podcast is when I was pitching it to Josh and to the folks here at the Beckham and some other folks, it was like I don't really like. I want people that are interesting, that are local, and I prefer really folks that are independents, that are working with themselves, because they can speak candid. If you're W-2, you got to be muffled a little bit because you're working for somebody. And I get that. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm W-2, so it's not a big. I get it, but you know, the folks that are in the fields that are intriguing, that we can highlight. That's what I want to do. And if that's a distiller, great. If that is someone who's an EMT, then we want to do that, and because they have a story to tell too. And
But East Texas is full of just
yeah,
So many awesome, incredible people.
agree,
It really is.
agree.
And then drilling that down to like with the whiskey club and the bourbon society and all the the groups, the bourbon people. That's become my metric.
Yeah,
You know, you're a bourbon person. Oh, you're cool. I love
yeah.
it.
Especially during Stanley releases, Stanley barbecue.
Yeah.
releases.
I'm so
So
glad I
good.
missed the other night.
Yeah, you missed
I
it.
had a board
It
meeting.
was a great time.
Didn't
The
go.
valley. Well, it's great to have you on.
Well,
Thanks for
so
you
much.
and Rudy coming on. Really, I mean, did take your time to kind of talk to us about some super important things. We got a lot of views on the solar piece. I think we're getting a lot of views on this.
Well, I really
Appreciate you having us and letting us,
Yeah,
highlight our thing, and especially to talk about for this holiday.
yeah,
That's
absolutely.
just something.
And that's so close to my heart and so passionate about any chance they can get something.
Sure.
Spread awareness.
We got one more train to go through.
It's going loud.
Let's just hope it doesn't go off track.
Sure. Yeah, you do.
We're almost done. Let's see here. Oh, we're good.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So it's got a lot of many of the juices were really good. They did a great job with this one. The 20 years. Oh, chip. Yeah.
Maybe a
Um,
bourbon above
probably.
I think they're gone.
All right. Thanks again. Appreciate you coming on. So for the next time, our 11th episode, it's going to be a fun one. We're going to have it here at the Beckham. We're going to have it in the ballroom. It's going to be live. We're going to have Mia from JT Milnick come over from Louisiana. She's going to have the rice whiskey. It's no wheat, no rye. We've had it, right? We've picked a barrel. It's exciting. We're going to have samples. We're going to have some food. We're going to have a DJ. Yes, it is going to be a party. It's kind of be like our Christmas party. You know, Spirit Square Christmas party. Cannot wait. Super vibe behind me, but cannot wait to film that one, get it published, and enjoy this one, and that one. It'll be really, really fun. Till then, thanks so much for joining us.